We have Fred, and we are ready to roll. All right. Fred Greetham, Orange and Brown Report, kind enough to join us here on the show, 1310 WDPN. Fred, my apologies, man. That screw up is all on me. Thanks for coming on. How are you today?
Doing good.
All right. Here we go. The Browns have a pool, a very wide net cast out in the waters. It looks like about between 8 to 10 candidates, and who knows, there could be more after the football season comes to an end around the Super Bowl time. In your heart of heart, your hunches of hunches, who do you think they are zeroing in on as of right now?
Well, I'm going to stick with what I've written from the beginning is, I think Jim Schwartz makes the most sense. I mean, I don't know if they think that way, but you got a defense. If it ain't broke, don't fix it,
Mm-hmm.
and any other move to kind of try to make it work without him being the head coach. I don't know if you keep him, if you get fancy and say, well, we really want you. Will you stay as the defensive coordinator if we get this guy, or this guy? I feel right now we're getting limited information,
Yes.
but it seems like they're trying to put a puzzle together and they're interviewing, the young offensive coordinator dude that's never been a head coach, maybe for now or the future, or in case Schwartz is, will stay as the defensive coordinator under somebody like that, or if they would be the offensive coordinator under Schwartz. But you saw Schwartz interviewed with Ravens today for the head coaching job. Since he's been here, I think that's the first time he's got a head coaching interview outside of the one he did with the Browns. And so you wonder, is that just because the Browns interviewed Todd Monken, the Ravens offensive coordinator? Okay, we see what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to read it. I think they've done the interviews they've had to do with the Rooney Rule and so forth. So I don't really know if there's anything holding them up. But if there's nothing holding them up, there's either somebody they want to talk to that's still in the playoffs, or they're not completely sold that they want to make Jim Schwartz the head coach. Because I would think you'd just get it done. But maybe they're keeping their options open in case John Harbaugh says, well, I'll talk to you guys. I don't know, or what they're looking for. Mike McDaniel. I mean, none of these guys really excite me, but in all fairness, I never heard of Kevin Stefanski either 6 years ago when they hired him as the up-and-coming hot offensive coordinator dude.
Yeah, at the age of 34, nonetheless. Fred, is anybody else hot, do you think, on Jim Schwartz, or is the Ravens thing probably the only outside of Cleveland interview he's going to get? What do you think there?
That's kind of what I think. Like I said, he had a good defense 2 years ago. I think they were number one, that year. They went to the playoffs. He was assistant coach of the year that year. And as far as I know, he didn't get any head coaching interviews. And usually when you're in the playoffs and you get the recognition like he did, you become, but I'm not saying he's old by any stretch because he's younger than me. But at 59, it seems like what's in vogue is everybody wants that 30-something guy that's perceived as up and coming. And that's kind of the trend of what is being looked at on both sides of the ball. So I don't know if that's if the Ravens are just, like I said, the Browns interviewed their offensive coordinator and so maybe something to do with that, but gives them a little leverage. Kevin Stefanski's still out there. A lot of people that follow the Browns probably wouldn't think an 8-26 coach the last 2 years would get a lot of looks. And yet I think he's interviewed for 5 of the 8 openings. I'm not counting the Steelers yet because that just happened, but he's probably going to get a head coaching job. And if not, he's going to be an offensive coordinator. So as a head coach, the way it's looking, I think he will probably get a position. and he might want Jim Schwartz to come with him.
Ooh.
And so that's what I'm saying with the Browns. You better make a decision. And I don't know if you can just say, hey, we really like you to run the defense, but we don't want you as the head coach. Because I know they are human beings. And if you said, okay, I'm good enough to be interviewed, but I don't know if I want to stay here, if I'm not the head coach and work under somebody else. I really don't know the dynamics behind everything.
Interesting. Fred, everybody wants the Sean McVay type. Well, I got news for everybody. There's only one Sean McVay. Everybody wants the Liam Cohen. Those guys are so hard to find. And I looked at the Vegas odds today. They've got Mike McDaniel as the favorite to be the new coach of the Cleveland Browns. I don't know, Fred. I don't see Mike McDaniel even fitting in with the AFC North. Do you?
Well, it sounds a lot to me. His path is very similar to Kevin Stefanski. I don't know then why you got rid of Stefanski unless you were just wanting a new voice. I can honestly say, McDaniel was here before. He was an assistant. We didn't talk to him much, but just from afar, he would have some interesting press conferences. But that isn't somebody that really excites me as a head coach. But he's one of two former head coaches. I kind of like the guy that's been there, done that. I was burned a little bit with Bill Belichick. When he left Cleveland, I didn't think the guy would ever amount to anything. He wrote me a handwritten letter about something nothing to do with football. I don't even think I kept it. And, little did I know he'd be a 6-time Super Bowl champion. So, I can't put a lot of stock in things. Who knows what Stefanski will do, but on the second time, the reason I say that is because Jim Schwartz hasn't got another opportunity as a head coach since he left the Lions. Mm-hmm. And when I look at what he did, he took over an 0-16 team, got them relevant. You remember how bad the Lions were. They went to the playoffs. I think they were 10-6 or 11-5. And, the year he got fired, he had a record, I think, of 7-9, which would be a great record with the Browns. So a lot of times in the second go around, those guys do so much better. But for whatever reason, he's went on to be a great coordinator with the Eagles, won the Super Bowl, and he's done a good job here. I just think he makes too much sense because you can't assume you bring somebody in, even a defensive-minded guy. Jesse Mintner, who they're talking to, I think, Friday, is a 3-4 guy. Mm-hmm. Myles Garrett is a 4-3 defensive end, and you have a personnel package built for this team. You're just assuming that another guy's going to come in. They might be better, but they're going to be as good as they currently are constructed. I think 10 of the 11 starters are under contract. And don't forget, Martin Emerson, unless he has a setback with his Achilles, will be back. And that's like adding a veteran first or second round, pick to your defense. And don't forget, if JOK were able to come back, that'd be like 2 top line performers infused into this defense. So I don't know why you'd want to mess with it unless you just think, oh, yeah, anybody we can run them guys out there. Everything will be great. So to me, the AFC North now is in flux. You cannot tell me a change at head coach with the Steelers and the Ravens after 37 years between them doesn't present you an opportunity to get it right, because let's face it, they probably won't, but the Steelers are due to get it wrong. Right. 3 times since 1970, they've had a coach.
Yeah.
And the Ravens last 18 years with her. So both of them are due to maybe have a stumble here, and maybe they won't get off to a great start next year. And if the Browns can turn things around in one off season on the offense, I think the AFC North is in play.
I think so too. I think so too. When this division, the Cincinnati Bengals are the only team that has any kind of semi-stability, and they do have a franchise quarterback, and they got some talent. But I mean, the door is certainly open there to at least leapfrog a couple of guys you've been trying to get over. Fred Greetham is our guest. Orange and Brown Report, AM 1310 WDP and the Sam Bourquin Show. One more, Fred, and we'll let you go. And I appreciate you coming on here on real quick notice today. The big names out there that are probably no way in heck are coming. Mike McCarthy would be one. I would think John Harbaugh would another that would not come. Matt LaFleur probably. Is there any chance at all one of those three could at least land an interview here and maybe get in some kind of serious talks, or no way?
I'm not going to say never on anybody. I mean, the Browns were dismissed from the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. They were able to talk their way in with the money. I don't think that necessarily interests a guy like John Harbaugh. I think the common denominator is the quarterback position. I mean, he's leaving Lamar Jackson. I don't think he wants to start over unless he's really excited about their prospects on what's on the roster. And I don't think, he would necessarily be, because you don't have a starting quarterback, at least named on paper, whether they're going to run Deshaun Watson back, if that excites anybody, or Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel. The common denominator of the three that have been mentioned as his favorites, the Titans, if he likes Cam Ward and $100 million upwards in salary cap availability, that could appeal to him. The Giants with Jackson Dart could really appeal to him. And, the Falcons with Michael Penix, that could appeal. So I don't know what he thinks about those guys, but I would think they're in a better situation than where the Browns are from that aspect. And how much control, or bringing in his own personnel guy. And in other words, I don't think a guy like Harbaugh wants to just start all over. He doesn't need to.
I agree.
With any of the ones you named, I don't know if they're interested in McDaniel. I said before they let Stefanski go, I said they better have somebody in mind. And that's why they felt pretty good about the Schwartz thing, but maybe not. Maybe they're trying to make it work with another head coach, offense, and plug him in still as the defensive coordinator. I don't know what it'll be, but it's not as appealing. And you're going to end up, I've been through this, where you go through it and you go, hey, Sam, you want to be the head coach? Oh, okay. Hey, you want to be the head? And you end up with your 5th, 6th, 7th choice. No disrespect, but you end up with Rob Chizzinski, Mike Pettin. We all know they weren't the top of the list, but you cannot go into an open interview if you don't have an idea. I am okay with fact finding for the future, or for coordinators or up and comers, but I don't know if you're ready to just start from scratch and hope you get it right this time.
Yeah, it seems like we've been down this road before, Fred, and we'll see if it changes. I'm not banking on change, but I guess all we can do at this point is hope, because it's pretty much all we have. Fred Greetham from the Orange and Brown Report. Check him out as well at Fred Greetham 9 on X and social media platforms. Fred, again, thank you so much for coming on. We'll be back in touch maybe when we think we're a little bit closer to bringing the new guy to town. Always appreciate your time. Thanks, Fred.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. There he goes. Fred Greetham from the Orange and Brown Report. Again, follow him at Fred Greetham 9.